Hello guys, how you doing? SimUK here. This is a first look review for the France DLC for Fernbus Coach Simulator. And the reason why I say it's a first look review is, well, there's a number of reasons. One, because it's absolutely flipping enormous. It's absolutely huge. It adds an additional 1,836 kilometers of road. Expands the existing world map by 150% and has 20 new cities to visit. Paris, which has 2 bus stops, Lille, Brest, Rennes, Dijon, Strasbourg, Lyon, Bordeaux, Toulouse, Marseille, Nice, well, the airport at least. There is an awful lot of stuff in this DLC to review. There's a lot of iconic architecture. Obviously you've got the Arc de Triomphe, you've got the Eiffel Tower, you have absolutely loads of landmarks, points of interest. You've got all the rivers, all the main rivers at least, multiple regions. You've even got the Viaduct de Millau, which apparently is the Europe's tallest viaduct. Landscape covers the French Alps, the Massif Central and the Pyrenees. It's absolutely enormous, and it would just take me weeks to be able to go and look at everything there is to see in this DLC. It's absolutely enormous, too big to fit into a single review. But there's another reason why it's a first look review, and that's because this DLC was not actually meant to go live when it did. Somebody actually clicked the go live now button completely by accident. So the reality is that nobody should have been able to get access to this DLC so far. As a result of that, there's a lot of areas in the map which are not fully finished. There are trees in the middle of the road, there are GPS signals that don't go where they're supposed to, there are even roads that are not connected together correctly. There's an awful lot, a huge amount of stuff going on, and in all honesty, despite the fact that it's not completely finished to the highest degree, it's already showing huge signs of being a really decent DLC. Now, I'm running a 9700K, it's not overclocked, but it does boost up to 3.9 gigahertz. I'm also running a GTX 1080 Ti, and using those two with absolute ultimate ultra settings, everything's at maximum including traffic, I am getting a solid, and I do mean solid, 60 FPS, actually a little over 60 FPS if I'm being honest. Now it does occasionally drop down to low 20s, but we're talking 5 seconds and then it's back up to 60 FPS again. That is in the middle of France, that is in the middle of Paris with 100% traffic turned on. It really has been optimized. They have been working seriously hard, not just on this DLC but on this game in total. And the bus, which is coming out in 2020, is looking very promising indeed. It's going to be more centralized, more localized. Not this, you won't be able to drive all the way from France right across Germany and into Austria in the bus. But here in Fernbus you can do that. You can drive from one side of France. You can drive from the south of France to the north of Germany if you so wish. I am telling you now though, that will take you some significant time. This is such an enormous game now, it's ridiculously big. Recently I actually went over to France with the family and spent just over a week there, and we took the car, so I was driving around the roads of France for quite some time, mostly Paris and northern France, and I've got to say, some areas in this DLC they have nailed so well that it actually looks familiar. But I would say, in all honesty, my memories of northern France, certainly on the main A roads, there were less trees, and certainly I don't recall seeing quite so many huge boulders. Now they're there to sort of make it look real, I guess, and make it look different and give it some sort of character. But in all honesty, northern France, for the majority of the driving in northern France, it was just open fields with the odd tree in the middle, here, there and everywhere. Maybe you'd see a tractor driving around doing some work on a farm, but other than that, there really wasn't that much going on. Some lakes, some rivers, stuff like that, but I think they could take an awful lot of the trees out and the boulders out and it would be even more realistic. So I'd be very interested to hear from anyone who has a more extensive understanding of French roads, especially if you actually live in France. I'd be very interested to hear how accurate you think it is and what improvements they could make to make it more realistic. Certainly inner France, in the inner cities, Paris predominantly is the only area I've really spent any time driving around. I would say that they've done a really good job there. The Arc de Triomphe looks and feels very much like the Arc de Triomphe. The AI driving, I think they give way a little bit too much, but in some circumstances they don't. And yeah, I think overall it gives a very good busy city feeling. And like I say, with 60 FPS, a solid 60 FPS throughout, it's quite an enjoyable experience. They've done a fantastic job here. TML have been working on Fernbus for a good 3.5 years, I'd say, maybe more. And this DLC, although it came out very early and is not in any way finished, is an impressive achievement, I would say. In all honesty, this DLC is not an essential part to the game, but my goodness me, is it a good part to the game. I would highly recommend it. It's brilliant. If you like driving long distance, this is really going to exaggerate that, and the modelling for the French architecture is very good. Some areas I think it could be slightly better. Some of the houses in northern France, because I only really have experience of northern France in real life, I'd say that some of the buildings in northern France could be changed. There's a lot more sort of single floor chalets I noticed in northern France than I've seen in this game, but that's being very, very picky. On the most part, I'd say that this has been excellently put together. There are a few trees in the road, there are a few shrubs in the motorway, and the reason for that is because this game came out early and it shouldn't really be ready for release, but it's such an enormous space to go round and fix these problems, and it's not a quick and easy fix either. It's a lot of time and a lot of effort, so much respect to TML. Don't forget that they've also just released the Rhine Gorge, the BB40 and Luxembourg, all of which are free, and they've all come out just before Christmas here, so there's a huge amount of additional content that they're releasing for nothing. They're spending so much time and effort. Luxembourg looks absolutely fantastic. I'm really looking forward to taking a drive around Luxembourg. But my goodness me, the French DLC is £22 on Steam at the moment. And it's fair to say that if you were to buy all of the DLC for Fernbus, you are going to be looking at a hefty price. I think all for every single piece of DLC available in Fernbus, you're going to be looking at £120 plus. Now that is not small money, that's big money. But if you're going to invest big money in this, then I would definitely say that you can pick up the base game and the France DLC, and you're looking at £52 there for the lot. And that is a huge amount of driving content available for you there. I think I would love to see this DLC be cheaper, but I totally understand, being one of the very few people who have been able to use Fernbus's editing tools, I can really tell you, the editing tool is absolutely fantastic, but the time and effort that goes into just making the most simple of routes is quite staggering. And they have put enormous amount of work into this, and I just think it's really good being able to drive around France. One thing I will say, okay, there is a negative, it's not all positive. When you go into France, and this may be something that's coming later, I don't know, but the radio stays on German radio. I would love to have a French radio station clock up when you drive into France. I would love to see more French skins for the buses. I would like to see more French posters and that all over the place. I mean, I don't speak French particularly well, but that doesn't bother me. When I'm in France, I would like to see French things. It would make it way more realistic. That being said, the only other thing actually that I've noticed is missing is Citroën 2CV cars. Now, you don't see many of those in France anymore. They are technically a collector's item, but you certainly, you would expect to see one or two, maybe, a couple a week, something like that. especially if there's one in your area, you're going to see it more regularly. But just casually driving around, say for a week or two, you are more than likely going to see 1 or 2 Citroen 2CVs. It's France. It's just a thing. It's iconic of French culture, and I think it would be great if they could somehow squeeze that in there. But yes, on the most part, this is a very, very good DLC. It certainly expands the driving area, and I've got to give it a thumbs up. I think that the whole game has just continued to improve and impress me. Each time they update and improve something, it just gets bigger and better. Now, bear in mind, I'm going to reiterate this before I sign off. This DLC was not meant to go live when it went live. It is not a finished, polished article. They were still working on it when it accidentally went live. So you will see things that are not right, and they do know that, and basically they apologise, they're working on it, they'll get it done as quickly as possible. But we are talking 1,700 kilometres. It's an enormous job. It really is a huge job. Plus they hadn't even finished it in the first place. So going around and fixing all the bugs and issues that people are discovering as they drive around, it's going to take some time. So just, at least be understanding of that point. But that's it from me. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves. Till next time. Goodbye.